is here. Isioma Dogo. Good day to you. How are you doing today, ma'am?
I'm fine, Ejuru. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thanks for, availing your time to be here and especially to share your story. Your story is such a touching one. And yeah, but before we go into the story, what is the thing that you are most grateful for?
I'm most grateful for life. I'm most grateful for family, for the love of family, for the love of people that have surrounded me in the years that have passed in my life. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Absolutely. Like it goes without saying, but I just had to ask that question because you've been through a lot. And it's just beautiful to see you standing today and not just here for yourself alone, but then, looking at you reaching out to other people. And that is everything we're going to unpack in this session with you. So let's dive into your story. Tell us your story.
Okay. My name is Isioma Dogo. I am a wife and a mother of an energetic 3-year-old girl.
That's my sister right there.
Energetic EJ, that's your sister. Okay, so I grew up in a city called Port Harcourt in Nigeria. Where my family was a loving Christian family, just the basic loving family. And I remember that when I was growing up, my mom would talk about some of my aunties that had not had children. They had been married for a while and hadn't had any children. And she would talk to us about them and tell us to pray for them. And by the time I got to like my late teens and my early 20s, I found that it was a burden on my heart. I just always used to remember those aunties, and I used to, by the time GSM came out, I would send them text messages, tell them that I'm praying for them. And I actually used to pray for them, and I did not know that several years down the line, I would be like them. So around the age of 30, I got married to my husband and we started trying to have a baby, but the babies just wouldn't come. And the years rolled by. We did all the tests we were asked to do. We saw so many doctors. And just like the woman with the issue of blood in the Bible, the Bible says that she saw many physicians and she only grew worse. So our case just kept getting more complicated. At some point, doctors did not know, it just kept getting more and more complicated. And then at some point, they asked us to try for IVF. And then we had 2 IVF cycles several years apart. But none of it worked out. And now IVF, I believe IVF is wonderful technology. It has brought hope to a lot of homes. It has brought joy to a lot of families across the world. But it just did not work for us. And for us, it was a very emotionally draining and psychologically and physically draining experience, the 2 IVF cycles that we tried. For one of them, I was in pain, like almost throughout the process. For it was just a difficult process for us, the IVF cycle. But anyway, they didn't work. So we continued like that, and then kept seeing doctors. It was tough, but somewhere along the line, after about 7 years of marriage, I just decided that. Look, I'd always had this dream of going further in my studies, doing my master's program. And I just never got around to doing it because I kept saying, I'm trying for a baby. I should concentrate on that. I shouldn't let me focus all my energies in one place and all that. And then time was just going and I hadn't done anything. So I talked with my husband and he said, okay, he agreed with me. But the thing is that my course of choice, the nearest place to do it was in the city of Zaria, 3 hours away from Abuja, where my husband and I live. So it was a tough decision to take, but
Wow.
eventually I had to, we
took
made the
it.
decision. Yes.
So does that mean that you had to
Zaria.
move?
Oh, yes. I had to move. I had to be shuttling between Abuja and Zaria. I sometimes would spend, sometimes several times in a week I would travel. Sometimes I would spend as much as 3 weeks or almost a month in Zaria before I would come
Before
back.
going
So
home.
so it was a very tough time traveling and all that. And then about 3 months or so into my studies in Zaria, I came home to Abuja to see my husband one time, and then I had been feeling ill, so I just decided to go to the hospital, and I found out I was pregnant, just like that, in the middle of a very, very difficult time. In fact, I was writing exams. It was a difficult time. This is after we had tried for several years, done everything, spent so much money, and just like that, I was pregnant.
Wow.
And and then the pregnancy was relatively hitch-free, apart from the usual morning sickness and a few things here and there, but it was okay. And then I gave birth. I was booked for a cesarean section to have my baby. I had the baby. The baby was fine, but then all hell broke loose. A few days after I had the baby, I had to be rushed back into the theater. Let me just summarize it because a lot happened. I had to have 6 more surgeries that year, major surgeries. Apparently my intestines were perforated while I was being operated on to have my baby. So after that, a few days after that, the complications started to manifest, and I had to be rushed back into the theater. I had a total of 6 surgeries that year. I spent about 9 months in hospital, different hospitals, some in Nigeria, some outside, and one outside Nigeria.
Oh my God. What was happening to your baby at those times?
My baby, that's why when you ask me what I am most grateful for, the love of family, my brother and his wife. And in fact, I have 2 sisters-in-law that were exceptional. That story for another day, but they were just exceptional. So my daughter did not feel the loss of her mother in those months, but I will get back to them another time.
Wow.
I at several points in time in those 9 months that I was in different hospitals, different doctors told me that they had thought that at some point they had thought that I had only a few hours to live. Different doctors, both in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. I was in constant pain for those 9 months and even after the 9 months, but I'm just talking of the 9 months when I was in hospital. I was in constant pain. If I ate, I couldn't eat or drink. If I did, I would throw up. It was just, there was a time I went without food, completely without food for almost 3 weeks, without food or water. For about 2 months, I was eating through a tube in my neck. Of course, I had no energy. I had lost all my, like half of my body weight. I had to be carried around if I needed to go anywhere. Like I had to be in a wheelchair or I had to be physically carried. I had lost so much weight that it was painful to look in the mirror. I remember the first time I looked in the mirror, I couldn't believe what I was seeing because I had laid down for so long and there was just no need to be looking in the mirror. But once or twice when I had to get up after a few months of when I had cause to look pass by a mirror, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was totally malnourished. I had amnesia for some time. There are some parts of after the delivery of my baby that I can't remember.
Wow.
I was there. I was talking. I was active. I seemed normal to everybody. But right now, I cannot remember those days. When I was coming back to myself, I remember that the doctors would ask me, "What's your age? What's your weight?" I didn't remember because it was like I was dead and I was coming back to life. So I didn't even remember all those things, basic things like my weight that you can ask me, and even if I'm waking up from sleep, I will answer you. I didn't know. I remember one day when they asked me to look out of the window and tell them what time of day it was. And I remember I looked out and I could see that it was bright, but I told them it was evening. And I heard a few people giggle. And I was wondering why they were laughing. But it was later, it's now, later when I became well that I realized that I had just completely lost my mind, in fact. And all this was due to the fact that I had sepsis. I had a blood infection, all stemming from the complications of the CS that I had to deliver my baby. I had a blood infection that should have killed me a few hours, in fact, after the CS, but somehow I survived it. Anyway, I just kept going like that for months and months. Sometimes I would get better, sometimes I would get worse. It was really bad. Another thing I had is a condition called enterocutaneous fistula, whereby I had holes on my stomach where feces was coming out from day and night. And that went on for even after I was discharged from hospital. I still had the fistula. I still had the holes on my stomach. Of course, it was better managed. I was now wearing a bag over it and all that, but I had to deal with all that for several months.
Wow.
I was told that it probably would never heal. Doctors from Germany, ideas and opinions were gotten from doctors from all over the world. And yes, and none was good.
Wow.
The stories we were hearing were not good. It was like I would never recover. Of course, my baby did not know me. The times that my mom always ensured, because my mom was there by my side all through. My husband was there. They always ensured that they brought the baby to see me. My sisters-in-law who were taking care would bring the baby to see me. But, I didn't have the energy to even carry her. So she didn't want anything to do with me. Then she was just a few months old. But, even as a baby, she knew the people that had the energy to play with her. She knew the people that were taking care of her. She didn't know me. So when she came to the hospital, she didn't want anything to do with me, so that all that added to the issues that I already had. So it's a long story. If I say everything, we won't leave here today. But little by little, I started to heal in spite of the fact that it was said that I probably would not, even when I got better and I got back home, came back to stay with my husband, because all this while I was in Port Harcourt, I was in Dubai. But when I got better and I now came back to stay with my husband, we went to a hospital here too in Abuja. And I was told that the fistula probably would never heal, except I go for bigger surgeries, that it probably would never heal. But little by little, I started to heal. Today I can walk. Today I can carry my baby. I have a relationship with her, an excellent relationship that I thought would never, the way it was in those first few months, I thought that we would never have a relationship because she wanted nothing to do. We would never connect. She wanted nothing to do with me. I was everything that a baby would not want. I was just lying in one place on the bed. I couldn't move. I could hardly talk. But today we have a great relationship. God has really just helped me. There's no other explanation. There's no other explanation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
When doctors tell you, consultants from across the world tell you that, you're a miracle, then what else is there to say?
So
there's no other explanation.
So what do you think? I mean, it's God, definitely, but what was going through your mind when all those reports were coming in, like it might not heal, you might, might be the end? Like, what was going through your mind, and what do you think is responsible for your healing journey to happen?
Yeah. Okay, for my healing journey, I would say my belief in God, my faith in God. And when I say that, I don't mean that I had this great faith that made me better than other people who probably were not healed. No, I mean just the fact that there is a God. That's what I mean. The fact that, I acknowledge that there's a God and, the Almighty God. That's what I would say I attribute my healing to, And then what was going through my mind? A lot of things went through my mind, because this is months and months of being ill. And even after being discharged from hospital after 9 months, I was still not in a good place. I was just managing, just taking one day at a time. I still had external and internal injuries and all that. So this is months and months. So a lot went through my mind. I can tell you that at a point, I remember when thoughts came into my mind that, maybe it's better to just die. I remember very well. And when I thought that way, I immediately thoughts of my mom came into my mind. And I just told myself, she will never stop crying. You can't give up. That's just what, and immediately that thought left me. I didn't think of death anymore. And then at other times, it was just difficult. I would just say, God, why? After all the years of waiting, why? Why this? But somehow I was surrounded by awesome
amazing people.
My sister, she kept on praying for me. She kept on, gathering people to pray for me across the world, even people that had never met me.
Wow.
My sisters-in-law, when I thought of their sacrifices, a baby that wasn't theirs, they took her in. They would make food for her at night, because, of course, my baby breastfed for only a few days. So the rest of the time,
that was out of it.
Yes, it was completely out of it. People had to make her food. She was dependent on them, and they were there. My brothers, my husband was just amazing,
God bless him.
In fact, my husband was just, and he still is, because the recovery process is still on,
Absolutely.
The recovery I have come a long way, and he has been there every step of the way. So I could go on and on.
I know, we could just go on and on. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Such, man, I really, God. Number one, congratulations. Congratulations for scaling through that. And thank you also for sharing, because there are people who might not have gone through half of what you've gone through or what you went through. And they're just like at that point, like, you know what, God, just let's just end it. Like, it's okay. This is impossible. It's not going to work. And so I'm glad that you're sharing now. I really hope that somebody out there is watching this, and it could be that you are not the one in the situation, but you're close to someone who is in that kind of dire situation that feels like all the verdicts from every angle is looking like, no, this is not going to happen. I need you to, watch this, take this episode to that person, let them watch and find strength and find hope that somebody has gone through something worse or something as hard as they are going through. And she's here today, standing, sharing her story, letting us know it wasn't easy. Like, I can just imagine you not being connected to your baby after waiting for so long. I can only imagine, like, I can never understand it. I can only imagine what must have been going through your mind, the questions, the thoughts, like, God, what did I do? What is my sin? Like, all of those things must have been going through your mind. But now, thank God that you are recovering. And, there's that now relationship with you and your baby and your family. And bless God for your family. Like, that is priceless. Indeed, that's something to be super, super duper grateful for. So now that you've done this, I know you're currently doing your master's. You're back you're back on the road. Wow, woman, you are strong. So tell us, how are you then currently impacting your world?
Yeah. Okay. Let me start first by saying that sharing my story was one way. I love to write. So one day I just wrote about the story and put it on Facebook. And I was shocked and overwhelmed I didn't expect it. I just thought I had made a post about something that happened to me. I was even still in the process of everything. I hadn't fully healed. I was still in the process of everything. And you need to see the avalanche of messages, of calls from all over the world. People were trying to reach me. People were saying how the story encouraged them. And I was like, wow, I just wanted to, I just wanted to make a post, just say what had happened to me. So this social media, the story has been on social media. Different blogs carried it. And then the national dailies, Guardian newspaper, one of the national dailies in Nigeria, the story was carried, a full page article on what happened to me. And also, I forgot to mention that I used to be in a community of women when I was still waiting. We had several support groups that I was part of on WhatsApp and on Facebook. And then I used to share, I used to have these words of encouragement that just used to drop in my spirit, even though I was waiting as well. And then I would just write them down, short messages and all that, and I'll share on the groups. And everybody would be, oh, this blessed me and all that. And I would just be saying in my mind that you people don't know that if as I was writing, I was crying because it was blessing me. It blessed me more than it is blessing you, So it was just a very strange thing. I was in the situation, but I was getting messages, and I was putting them out, and people were being blessed, and people were, telling me how they loved the messages I was writing. But the messages were ministering to me first, before I cried through writing most of those messages. I still have them, and I still intend to someday maybe have a blog or something where I will put all of them and people can just go there and read and be encouraged. So that was that. And then for my master's, which you mentioned, I had to defer it at a point because it was just impossible to continue at that time. But I have the most amazing lecturers. They were so supportive. They kept encouraging me because, in fact, as at the time I started writing on my project, I still had external and internal injuries. I was still carrying a colostomy bag on my stomach, I don't want to go into the details, but that was how I was when I started writing my project because of the support that I got from my lecturers. They kept on encouraging me. Of course, my mom too, because she's an academic. She kept on encouraging me, and I started on my project, and very soon, I'm sure I'll be rounding up. I will conclude the master's program that I started so many years ago.
Congratulations are in order. Congratulations. Yes, you who started it, you are going to complete it by God's grace. Congratulations are in order. Wow.
Amen. And
So
one
what?
last thing, sorry.
Yeah, go on.
One last thing, I'm also working on a project with artists. I'm an artist and I'm also a writer. I'm working with other artists and writers on some kind of project where we go to hospitals to encourage patients and even caregivers in the hospital with arts and different forms of art and writing and all that. So that is also in the making, where I'm
Please,
working
please,
on that
please
currently.
share a little bit about that. What do you mean art? You mean drawing,
Okay.
paintings,
Yes.
painting, or what? Yeah, what's that about? Please
Yeah.
tell us more about
Yeah.
it.
It's a fellowship that I joined, that I belong to. It's called the Arts in Medicine Global Fellowship, and it's a fellowship of people from all over the world, different continents, of course, Nigeria, Scotland, Egypt, so many countries and continents across the world. And we're all creatives in one way or the other. It's either we're writers or we're visual artists, some are painters, some are jewelry makers. So we bring our talents, into creating a project that will bring smiles to the faces of people in the hospital. Some are musicians, so it's not restricted to the visual arts alone. The literary arts, the performing arts, all come together to try and bring joy to people in the
Oh,
hospital.
that is so sweet. Do they have chapters across this continents and countries?
It's every year there's a cohort for each year. So we are in the 2022 cohort. So I'm sure
Okay.
next year, next year there will be
Maybe they'll be expanding to other. So what I mean is, how can people be a part of this? Because this is such a beautiful way to serve, right? So
yeah.
if a creative is watching this and they're like, I love the sound of that, how can I be a part of that?
Okay, you can just Google the Arts in Medicine Global Fellowship, and every year they give the opportunity for
Members
creatives to be
to
part of
come on
the
board.
fellowship every year.
Awesome.
Yes, it's run for about 5 or 6 years. I think this is the fifth or sixth cohort. So next year there will be an opportunity for people to come on board again and be
Oh,
part of it.
fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. So please, you share the link with me so I can put it in the description of this video. That is such an amazing way to serve. That's one way that you are currently impacting your world. Just, going through that and saying, you know what, let's put a smile on the faces of others who are still in the hospitals. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. What message would you have for moms? Like, so you have there are two people you can like share with now, your words of encouragement for moms who are waiting and for those who are going through a scary health challenge. What would your word of encouragement be for them?
For people who are waiting, let me expand it. Let me not say moms, because everybody waits in some way or the other. Some people are waiting for a spouse. Some people are waiting for a baby. Some are waiting to have a job. Everybody waits, and it doesn't matter how much money you have or how influential you have. Everybody has to wait at some point in time or the other. So I would just say, while you're waiting, don't stop living. Don't die while you're waiting. Don't let what you don't have rob you of what you do have, And then I will also say, this is general to everybody, don't wait for perfection. I remember there were times when I could not back my baby. If I backed her, that's when I had gotten a lot better. If I backed her, she would slide down because there were no hips. I had no hips and no waist anymore. So, and this was when I had gotten a lot better. But we still kept on the motherhood journey. We just, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect, but we just kept on going. Sometimes, like, when people see our family picture now, I'm sure a few people think, oh, this looks like a perfect picture. This is a perfect family, but there's really no such thing as a perfect family. Everybody has their challenges. Everybody has their issues, but just don't give up. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other, even though the situations, the conditions are not perfect, but just keep going. And someday, someday it will be better. So that's what I'll say.
Wow. What an amazing story you've just listened to from Isioma Dogo. And whew, people have gone through. But the reason that we share this story is to let you know that whatever it is that you are currently going through, somebody has gone through something similar or something deeper or maybe something lesser, and they've been able to scale through. And by sharing their stories, you are being encouraged and inspired to know that you can fight for what you love, your life. And today's story specifically, speaks to the power of support, a support system, your family, your friends, your loved ones, to let us know that not only the good times should they be there, but also in the bad times, in the times that you're down, in the times that it feels like this is going to end here. And so I hope that as you've listened or as you've watched, depending on what platform you're consuming this content from, I hope that you are encouraged and, just inspired to keep on keeping on and to be that person that will be a support system to somebody else going through a hard time. Thank you so much for being on today's episode of the Afrocentrist Podcast, the segment, The Woman, Her Story, Her Impact. Until I come your way again next week, sharing the story of another beautiful, gorgeous, strong, relentless, resilient woman from another part of the world. This is me, the energetic EJ, saying have a fantastic week ahead. God bless you. Bye-bye.